Phase Zero What If episodes 7 through 9 and season 2 as a whole. Bonus episode starts now. I'm Brandon Davis, joined today by Jamie Durack.
Hello, happy almost New Year.
We got Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
And we got Aaron Perrine.
Kazoo noise.
Welcome to the show. If you are new, somehow just tuning in, welcome. We're happy you're here. The way we're going to do this is we're going to run through What If episode 7, episode 8, episode 9 in full spoilers, share our reactions, share the things we caught, the things we want to talk about. And then in addition to that, which we did not do in our 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 episodes, we're just going to talk about season 2 as a whole. Since we've already talked about each episode individually, we'll share what stood out to us, what we thought of the season, and so on and so forth, and send you on your merry way to 2024. So thank you for joining us one last time in 2023. Without further ado, does anybody have anything they want to say before we get started? Anybody want to get out?
Let's go.
All right, episode 7 of What If. You know, I like to break these down with my own personal titles, and then sometimes we have our fact checker, Jamie Durack, who likes to give you the accurate title.
I'm ready.
Episode 7, I would call this one What If Hela took Thor's place in the first Thor movie, but then it had a baby
right
with
off the tongue.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was raised by Wenwu.
The name of the episode is What If Hela Found the 10 Rings?
It's a weird episode. She didn't really find the 10 rings, though.
But
Well, I
like
guess
the organization.
Yeah,
No,
you're right. You're right.
Yeah. I almost thought you were going to stumble on the actual title and then you just kept going. So.
Yeah. Episode 8, What if the Avengers formed in 1602?
So close. What if the Avengers assembled in
duh.
1602?
I'm a fraud. I'm a fool and a fraud. And episode 9, What if season 2 had its own Secret Wars?
What if Strange Supreme intervened?
Oh, Strange Supreme came back, huh? Nice. All right, so those are the episode titles. We're going to start with episode 7. We'll go around real quick. This was the Hela Wenwu episode. Aaron, you're at the top of the screen. What did you think of this episode?
I think we can all say that the theme of season 2 of What If is when things fall on the ground, do not pick them up. Because multiple adventures have gone sideways for people, things crashing on the earth, and then someone going, oh, I think I'm going to touch that. And then things ensue. Delightful to have another episode where we cram 3 of these movies together in a way that absolutely makes sense. Absolutely tracks. Always fun to see more 10 Rings stuff. Cate Blanchett just with a flamethrower having the best time. So yeah, I'm sitting there in the background I hope they keep her number. I would love to see our gleaming, shiny version of her in Secret Wars at some point. But yeah, great outing. Loved it.
Jamie, what'd you think?
I thought it was so fun. Hela, I love Hela. She's one of my favorite. You know how I feel about a lady villain, and then in this one, she got to have a redemption. So that was really exciting. AC Bradley tweeted that originally they wanted to put Hela in the Party Thor episode, but they couldn't figure it out. And they were like, listen, if we're getting Cate Blanchett to do this, she needs her own episode. And that's how this came to be. And I think that's really cool. I think the idea of taking the kind of core plot of Thor, the first Thor movie, and then mixing it with Shang-Chi is a really interesting choice. Those are 2 movies I would not think to moosh together, but then also it's Hela. I think that was all really cool. And I love that Goddess of Life costume she gets in the end. Jenna put that in our tasks to write about, and I was so excited to claim that and write about that awesome outfit. So I did enjoy this. I will admit though, I watched it right after the Cohorty episode. So I was also looking at my screen really having to pay extra. If you listen to our last episode, you know what I'm talking about.
Jenna, what do you think?
See, Aaron, I thought you were going to say that the moral of the story for season 2 is it's okay to have daddy issues, because this episode and multiple other episodes do have that through line. I thought this was utterly delightful. It is still insane to me that Cate Blanchett is over here doing animation for Disney. That is just a wild sentence to say. And I think she knocks it out of the park. She has so much fun. Like Jamie said, combining these 2 elements makes perfect sense, but it's never something that I would have ever thought of. And just seeing her dynamic with both of Shang-Chi's parents is just utterly delightful. And that costume, I need the Hot Toys, I need the Funko Pop, I need all of that to come out immediately.
And the fight with Odin. seeing Hela fight Odin was dope. Like seeing Odin get in the action was cool. I thought this episode was really good. I enjoyed it. Not in my top episodes, but still a very good episode. I think that it was a bit predictable. I really like the Mercy arc of it all, like the fact that Hela had to evolve into the goddess of death to reclaim her powers and her helmet. But once Odin said, "Should you show mercy?" we all knew this was going to end with Hela showing mercy and getting the powers back. But it was cool. It worked as a story. I thought for a minute there that Hela was going to be Shang-Chi's mom for sure. I'm not going to lie. I thought there was a little bit of a romance brewing there with Wenwu and Hela. I was like, hold on a second. Is this going to change things up here? The 10 rings, I love the 10 rings and the Talos stuff. I honestly, though, I'll be honest. I love the Talos stuff. I love the characters from the Shang-Chi movie very, very much. I'm really glad for the first time since that damn movie, we actually got some content based on that part of the MCU, even if it's in a different universe. But I did think the middle portion of this episode was the slowest. The training stuff went on for a little while. But then again, I was binging the first time I watched this, and those binging thoughts did stick with me. Watching it again, not as a binge, just the first episode of the day yesterday, I was like, this is dope. I like it. So, yeah, overall, a good, really, I enjoyed it. A couple interesting takeaways in terms of Easter eggs, but we can get to those in a minute. But anything else you might want to talk about there?
Morris.
Morris.
Yes.
Did Morris fly in the Shang-Chi movie?
That's a great question.
I don't know, actually.
I don't think
That's
so.
I don't.
I could be wrong. That's one of those things that someone in the comments is like, "You idiot! Did you even watch the movie?"
Right.
I don't
exactly.
remember. That's how long ago Shang-Chi was. I forgot a
Yeah.
detail. The 10 rings. Now I know this is a different universe, but I'm always mining for Easter eggs and details. The 10 rings are not of this realm. Wenwu said. Where'd they come from? We want to know. They were a gift bestowed upon him. I'm investigating. I have nowhere to dig or look beyond that, but I want to know. Morris was great. Talo can't be seen by Heimdall. Does that matter?
The thing that's so funny is that both that and the fact that the 10 rings can kill a god seem pretty intentional. They seem mad intentional. And I was like, this is my version of Brandon's The Sokovia Accords are gone. Like, I'm like, wait, whoa. Stop. You can kill a god with these things? And they're not from here, and then Heimdall can't see them?
We're going to get to this. But I have some issues with some of the power sets and rules of the power mythology in season 2 of What If. I definitely do. And this one's fair. Hey, the 10 rings, they're powerful as hell. Maybe they can take down Odin, But I love the 10 rings. Make them powerful, whatever, because it's about the character that's using them and what I guess, I just, as I said last time, I do sometimes have trouble connecting with a character that gets their powers in kind of wonky, weird, super comic-y ways, and then they become crazy powerful, whether it's Superman or Cohorty or any sometimes I'm just like, I don't like undefined power sets, and we kind of got that in the finale, but I didn't really care because the story was awesome. The characters were great. So if the character's really interesting, I'll get past that. And I did in the finale for sure. But we'll talk about that later. Overall, yeah, the animation on this, I was watching Odin's cape blow in the wind, and I was like, damn. The animation team on What If really, really knocked this out of the park. And I don't remember thinking that on season 1. I don't remember thinking the animation was bad, but I don't remember ever. Maybe I just need to rewatch season 1.
I agree. I feel like every episode this season, I've just been the aesthetic just looks almost completely different. It looks so much more refined and ambitious than season 1, which is saying something because season 1 was already ambitious. I will say to your point about the power set and everything, I think getting to see Hela in this context where it's not just her completely being an antagonistic character. I loved her in Ragnarok. I remember at the time thinking oh, they're going to bring her back for Infinity War and she's going to be the stand-in for death. And that didn't end up happening. So I'm glad that we got this kind of emotional story for her, as predictable as it was, because it did kind of have all of this extra weight, and it was something that we didn't know we needed all the way back when Ragnarok came out.
Yeah. Overall, very good episode. Huh?
You're making me feel like we should do this on a season 1 rewatch. We should have 3 episodes per season 1 where we give it another shot.
Careful, because I'll throw that on the production sheet for early 2024. I do think we need to give season 1 another shot. Maybe we'll be
Yeah.
like, well, it is just not as good, or maybe we'll be like, damn, we were just greedy back then,
Yeah.
and we couldn't see the greatness we had in front of our faces. Who knows? But I think the team on What If even recognizes this season is just going a bit crazier, and it's just being more fun. That's the vibe I got from that Q&A.
Did Odin ever use that sword in any of the stuff?
The Allfather,
Yeah.
or was the Allfather in the next episode?
No, I think this one, right?
I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Yeah. Like, did that ever happen in the other parts of MCU?
Either way,
No.
no.
That's like Voltron sword. That's cool. I would have liked to see Anthony Hopkins wield it one time just for
Yeah,
the
it's gotta
behind
be
the
good.
scenes of him holding it completely just for that.
Yeah.
I also want to shout out, because Odin was in the Cohorty episode and this episode, not Anthony Hopkins, but it's Jeff Bergman, who is been voicing Bugs Bunny since like 1989.
Yes.
So Odin is Bugs Bunny, and I think that's really funny.
I think that's a perfect. What?
Yeah. I interviewed him a couple years back and he's great. So that's great that
Cool.
he got to be on the show.
Got a good voice for the character too.
Mhm.
I think that's a perfect place to end our episode 7 little recap and discussion. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. When we come back, it's time to talk about episode 8, 1602. See you in a moment. What if the Avengers assembled in 1602 is the question the watcher pondered in this episode of What If, which we're about to discuss. Jenna, you're at the top of the screen. What did you think of this episode?
I loved it. I think within the context of the show, it is such a fun implementation of the process. I think we hinted at this earlier in the season, but it is absolutely not comic accurate. At all to the work that Neil Gaiman and company did when they originally created the universe in the comics. But obviously Neil Gaiman has experience with some of his stuff getting adapted and not being fully accurate. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But I thought it was still a great episode. I think that just seeing the translation of everyone's costumes was super cool, and having this be a context to put Captain Carter into was really, really fun. Yeah, just across the board, I think it was really fun.
It was like Avengers Civil War if Thor was there in 1602. I really enjoyed it. Aaron, what about you?
I'm gonna try and keep it short because I know Jay's gonna have a lot to say. I really did like this one. Of course, like when I heard they were doing this, I was like, there are some things here that I don't think you're gonna be able to adapt. And sure enough, they avoid them deftly. But it is really fun to see all the Avengers together, even though some of them don't sound right. And I felt like when I was watching it, if this is strange to say, like, stop me, but I'm like, this is the moment that a lot of people are going to be like, wow, I really miss having all of these characters together. I'm like, when we wake up, the reaction on Twitter is going to be, oh God, why haven't we had an Avengers movie that feels like this? And for better and for worse of my brain space, but to everyone's benefit, we definitely got that. So good outing.
We need it for the live action characters, but I agree. It was great.
Yeah.
Jamie?
Oh, this is my favorite episode. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a Ren Fair girly. I also, as a theater kid, I'm a big Shakespeare person, and so to start it with Loki doing Shakespeare was so my kind of business. I literally, like, one of my favorite movies to watch over and over again is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So Cat being like Robin Hood, everything about this episode, like, and similar to the Christmas one, felt catered to me. This felt catered to me, but in like my secret ways that I don't talk about as much on social media. I just had such a good time, and obviously my girl's back. Wanda's back, and that was very exciting for me. I loved her costume. It was so great. I do have one criticism and one question that I was confused about. My criticism, this is not really criticism, I just think it's really funny that Merlin Wanda, with all her power, she needs to get Peggy Carter over here to help save this timeline. I think that's really funny. Like, really, girl? You really need her? Okay. I love Captain Carter. I'm glad the way it tied in. I love the through line of Peggy's whole story. I think it's amazing. But I did also was like, okay, that's a bit of a stretch. Also, I want to say that I love the 1602 comic. I read it probably a decade ago, and I have been refreshing Neil Gaiman's Twitter all day to see if he has thoughts about it. Like, I keep checking because it is very different. This is one where I can say it's a comic that I love. Read it. But okay, I do have a question about the Steve of it all. Because we find out that Steve, when he was fighting Thanos kind of in Infinity War, he hit the gauntlet, he accidentally hits the time stone, and he gets sent to 1602. But I would imagine, though, this has to be 1602 in a different reality from the reality in which he hit the time stone. Because all of the Avengers live in this 1602. And I'm sure in his future timeline, those are also his friends, unless he was fighting with a completely different team. So can the time stone send you not only back in time, but back in time to a different reality?
Oh,
I
no,
think
I
that's
don't
what they're
call that.
insinuating.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have to say, when that moment happened, I gasped, because I also for a brief second thought that this was the Cap returning the Infinity Stone story that everyone has wanted since Endgame. I thought that this was somehow he went on that journey and then got stuck in the time stone and then ended up in 1602. I still love what they did with it. I thought that was a really cool twist, but there was a moment where I was like, oh my god, they're really doing it.
It was a fantastic episode. It honestly, first time I watched it, I really didn't care for it. I was so confused because I missed one important part of dialogue when they said in the beginning that that it's two universes that have gotten glued together and they've kind of merged. And so I was sitting there watching it because at this point I'm 8 episodes deep into a binge, and I'm just eyes are glazed over, like, oh my gosh, all right, we're 4 hours into this, which I know we're complaining about having to binge watch a show for work. It's the worst freaking stupid thing to complain about, but it absolutely inhibits or kind of limits the experience for me. I'm not a binger, as we talked about on the episode of Phase Zero, but I was like, is this supposed to be the same Happy from the Christmas episode? Is this Tony from the Gamora episode? And I thought it was like a hodgepodge of characters, like the Guardians of the Multiverse in the first season had come together, and then I rewatched it this morning, and I was like, wow, when you're actually be able to be present, this episode is fantastic. So the lesson there is rewatch the episodes before talking about them, that's for sure. But also, just this episode was great. It is very different from the comic. Doctor Strange was not executed like he is in the comic. No Doctor Doom. I did think that Bruce Banner, when he had that metal mask on and was locked away, I thought for a second that might be Doom. I was like, are they actually about to bring in Victor Von Doom as like a prisoner in 1602? But no, of course it was the Hulk. First time we saw the Hulk this season, right?
I mean, Bruce was technically in the Christmas episode, so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no Hulk.
But he refused to turn into Hulk. He was
Yeah.
like, nah, you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the bearded Hulk, and he said, Hulk, smash thee.
Can I say something?
No.
Bearded Hulk?
Oh, no.
Kind of doing it for me.
Hey, sun's getting real low. Man, I respect it. Is that why you wore green today?
We'll say it was. Yes.
Sure.
I for a second, my tinfoil hat started going, that little green thing in the sky, is that Kang? And then I was like, did they change it and take Kang out? Because how would Kang not be a part of these what if stories if Kang is the big bad of the multiverse? But what ended up being the green thing in the sky?
It was
Did they
wasn't just like a rift from
Yeah.
Just a rip from the time stone that was just sucking
Yeah.
people out of the.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder if they had Kang involved.
I feel like no, because they made these episodes in 2020.
Yeah.
But
He already
was
filmed
barely
Loki
even
season 1
announced.
finale.
I would also think like they wouldn't want the first time that Kang is meeting all of the Avengers and a lot of these characters necessarily to be in this out of continuity context
Yeah.
like that. Like that's
Right.
the only like excuse that I can give.
No, I agree. It probably wasn't, but I couldn't help but wonder, was Kang a part of this and they removed him? But I feel like they also probably would have marketed that a long time ago that Jonathan Majors was going to be a part of this back when they were really banking on him and that character as the multiverse driver. So yeah, probably not. Tons of Easter eggs in this episode, though. Let's see. Fury mentioned, Nebula's observatory and Isle of Ego out there in 1602. I would have loved to see those. Rogers being Robin Hood. These are just the notes I have. If anybody wants to add anything, please cut me off. With Scott Lang and Bucky, it's almost like the Civil War team, but in 1602. Tony and Peggy, I love their dynamic. I think Tony being like just impressed with the words was funny. It took me back to Iron Man 3 when he was like, I am titillated by the notion of working with you. The Shakespearean characters. I'm an advocate for Shakespearean Thor. I like him over Ragnarok and Love and Thunder Thor. I love Shakespearean Thor. I don't care for the blonde eyebrows, though. You could do those either way. Army of Yellow Jackets was clever, putting them in the gun. Like there was just so much clever use of 1602 and like what the technology would be basically, but merging it with the super abilities and technology of the Avengers of like 2012 or 16, whenever they're supposed to be pulled from. Thought Banner and the Iron Mask was going to be Doom. The soldier masks were definitely designed to look like Chitauri when they were going in to get Banner. Red Skull was there, sharpening the Executioner blade. I guess that's the signal. Was that a throwback line from like Civil War? Why do I have that written down?
That does sound familiar, but I can't exactly place it.
I don't think that's a Civil War line. But
Again, somebody is screaming at their podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, I guess it is. It is. It's a wait.
I guess that's the signal.
Captain America said that in
Okay.
Captain America: Civil War.
wow.
Also, Wanda said, "We are out of time" to Fury, which is obviously an Infinity War callback, one of the sadder callbacks. The All-Father sword, it was this episode, was delivered to this Thor from the King of Wakanda, which is presumably a reference to T'Challa, because they're all from the same timeline. So that seems to be a reference to T'Challa, which we haven't gotten in a long time. So that's interesting. That's cool. This all spawned from Steve hitting Thanos' gauntlet in the Time Stone. Steve obviously is the one who sacrifices himself because he's the Forerunner, not to be confused with the alien race from DC Comics. Forerunner was actually a part. And the reference, Peggy says, we will never get our happy ending. And Steve says, I'm sure somewhere out there we do. And in fact, somewhere out there.
Well, and also, I loved their relationship. I also loved that like Peggy was the Maid Marian to the Robin Hood of it all. I thought that was a great little analogy. And then just her being like, no, I don't think I will tell you about my Steve. Like,
yes. Oh, I had that.
Yeah.
Like goosebumps. Such a good
Yes.
callback in the best
That
possible
was
way.
so good.
This episode was
wanna bring up-
fantastic.
Yeah, I want to bring up because that we got Hela again right after the last one, but I really like that her and Thor were so close, and
Ooh,
that
yeah.
she was the
Yeah.
queen, and then gets sucked in, and then Thor has to take over. Now becomes king. I really liked that dynamic. It was cool to see what they would be like if they were siblings who were close with each other.
Yeah, the whole driving force for Thor was that he thought that they killed his sister, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, he thought Peggy killed his sister, but it was not Kang in the green time stone. Yeah, fantastic episode. I think this is my favorite episode of the season, and it
Can I do
certainly
something?
wasn't the first time I watched it. I think this is probably my favorite episode.
Can I do something fun?
Go for it.
Okay.
Now that we've broken the seal on just adapting weird Elseworlds, for lack of a better way to put it, titles, what would you like to see them do now that we've cracked the seal on just doing weird either events or Elseworld things?
Nova and Gamora in a relationship from the Annihilation storyline.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
I want a full-blown musical.
I want yeah.
I was gonna say preferably in a 1970s setting.
You've gotten
Oh.
2 already.
Musical numbers? That is not the same as a full-blown musical. You asked what we wanted, Brandon. I'm not gonna cater to your whims. It's what I want.
You're supposed to also want Nova.
I am blanking on. There's probably a dozen other options I could give, but like the only one in my brain right now is just Pet Avengers. Like whether it is literally just like as
Yes.
there are enough iterations of that team just of like comic characters, or if you just fully go the Spider-Ham route and just show the animal versions of every Marvel hero, that would be utterly delightful.
Aaron, what about you?
Love it.
I'm gonna channel Adam for a second and say I would like a Weird World episode where
Yes.
Agatha Harkness is the bad guy, and we get Elsa getting a team of things that go bump in the night to go hunt her, and fight her.
Elsa does
because-
exist in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got a werewolf and a man thing, and Moon Knight and other
Bro.
stuff you could throw in there.
Blade,
Like,
maybe.
Blade,
There's
sure,
so much happening in
Ursula
the
first
MCU.
appearance ever. Yeah, like since we're
There's
just
so
gonna
much
give
happening.
people. I broke
That's a great
Brandon.
idea.
Oh no.
I do hope that season 3 does lean more into like phase 4 characters because we got a little bit of that, but it would be fun to see like certain people mixing with older characters. I think that would be neat.
Give me Shang-Chi and Iron Man, I beg.
I beg.
I don't ask for much, but just put my favorite characters together. And Loki. Throw Loki in there too.
I want to see Elena and Wanda.
Ooh.
I just want She-Hulk anywhere. I don't
Loki and
know.
Wanda
Oh, that's
interacted
right.
in
She
this.
hasn't been anything.
Yeah, Loki and Wanda interacted in this episode, and that never happened in the in anything else. And it was Tom Hiddleston and Elizabeth Olsen. I like to imagine they were in the same recording booth, but I know they weren't.
Why do you think this is Jamie's favorite episode?
All right. Well, that's episode 8. We all agree it was pretty great. And we got one more episode of What If Season 2 to discuss, and then we'll evaluate Season 2 as a whole. We will see you in a moment. Episode 9 of What If, Season 2 of What If. They're done. They're out there in the world, and we can watch them. Aaron, what'd you think of the finale?
I really like this one because for people who really were invested in season 1's like storyline, it helps kind of tie a nice little bow around it. I mean, more cohorty, which I did not know if we were going to get more or not after the cliffhanger, because I'm like, we've gone on cliffhangers with a whole season doesn't address something before, and I'm like, oh, that's great, awesome. And we'll talk about the frenetic nature of some of this later, but I, as a person who's a maximalist and is looking forward to watching it again and pausing a ton, the antithesis of Jim Viscardi, I was very pleased. Very, very pleased.
You know how many Easter eggs Jim missed in this episode?
Oh.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. Jamie, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. I will say the first time I watched it, I fell asleep. That's not the show's fault. It was trying to live my Florida life while also working. So I watched the second half again today because I still didn't have time. I literally had just enough time to watch the second half. And it was really cool to see it all come together. I think that's a really neat choice to make it, its own thing, but still have this, especially Captain Carter, our cohorty again was really cool. There's a lot of little details that I'm sure we'll talk about that I'm excited to talk about. But it just looked cool. The animation was awesome in this episode, I thought, and the whole thing it felt like it, like Aaron said, tied a neat bow, and especially because BD, I know you love this. The Doctor Strange episode from season 1, and I thought it was really cool the way that they wrapped that together. I was really into it.
Jenna, what about you?
I agree with everything that everyone has said. I think like the Easter eggs alone and just the visual spectacle alone, they're justifying why this story had to be told in animation and why this fight had to happen in animation. I was talking to Chris about this. I almost feel like Captain Carter wouldn't really work, like this Captain Carter wouldn't really work in live action anymore because everything that happens to her is so cool and so ridiculous and so over the top in a way that like animation really serves in this really fun way. I just thought it was so much fun. I think it's a spectacle in every sense of the word.
Yeah, I mean, props to Haley Atwell. Fantastic job as Captain Carter. Thank you to the What If team for giving Haley Atwell a show and Captain Carter basically a show. Fantastic character, fantastic finale with Captain Carter. Cohorty was great in this episode. Strange Supreme was a fantastic villain. I loved how it all came together. The little relationship between Captain Carter and the Watcher is a ton of fun. I loved just the very start of it, the animated Marvel Studios logo. With the characters from What If rather than the live action characters that we typically get. This was the first episode to do that, and I thought that was awesome. And overall, this was originally in my top 4 episodes, but upon rewatching 6 through 8 more intently, I definitely bump 8 into the top 4, and this one comes out of the top 4. But I would say it's probably number 5 then. I thought this episode was just awesome. Speaking of maximalism, yeah, there's a million. This is the closest thing to this is like a mini Secret Wars in a sense, but it's just 2 characters kind of fighting against a villain who's trying to resurrect a universe at the cost of other characters and heroes and villains and stuff. Strange Supreme just wants to get that love from Christine. I almost called her Rachel Palmer, Rachel McPalmer, Christine Palmer, and he's going to any lengths to do it. He didn't learn his lesson apparently, but I found it interesting. Captain Carter referenced Gremlins, Jurassic Park, and Aliens. Wouldn't that have been when she was sleeping?
But it's
She
the
had to
Steve
say,
thing.
like,
Because she said in her Winter Soldier episode that she's like catching up on the media that she missed. So
same journal.
yeah,
I do
I hope
think it's surprising, like, that she's caught up that quickly and is now making all these references. I that kind of caught me off guard a little too, because like I believe she's watched them, but I think it's funny that they right after another.
she crashed on the couch with Madison and Wong.
yes.
I thought you were gonna say she like cuddled up with Natasha. That's what I was picturing.
Maybe.
That too.
Maybe. In this world, Hydra prevailed, which meant that Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, neither of them became Captain anything. So Hydra was evil, and Red Skull got his own Mount Rushmore. Doctor Strange said, "This is madness." Is that a Multiverse of Madness reference? I don't know. Just listen. It's all tinfoil hatting from here on out. Cohorty in this episode kind of had the Quicksilver entrance from Avengers: Age of Ultron. I for sure thought maybe we'd get her tripping up Captain Carter and going, "You didn't see that coming?" I was like, "Wait a second, are we gonna get it?" But no, I was okay with that. Would have been a little on the nose, I think. A little on the nose. Some things I spotted. I did pause this and try to look at some things. Dark Elves, Rocket Raccoon. What, Jenna? You're gonna be able to. I should know this. That Hulk Odin thing. I've seen. Where have I seen that before?
I'm gonna look that up because like it's on the tip of my tongue. But keep
I
talking.
know I've seen that before this, and I think it's from a comic, but it might be an animated series. I know that Hulk with the crown and the armor and all that. I don't know where I've seen that before, but I'm like 99% sure I've seen that before. This is another one of those that's going, "You fake fan! That's so obvious." But I'm just conscious that I'm always getting yelled at. I'm sorry.
I want to point out that I like that all these little characters we're seeing are specifically universe killers. Like that Rocket you're seeing. What I don't know what he did, but he killed his universe.
Well,
Every character you're seeing, that's why he collected them, because they're universe killers.
I thought that, but when I watched it again this morning, Cohorty also said that he was collecting noble beings as well, and that's why he was after her.
Okay, because Peggy does say, "Oh, unleashing a whole horde of universe killers may have been a mistake," but I guess maybe it's a mixture.
That's what that's what it seemed to imply, that they were all villains in their universe. But then why was he going after Cohorty? Because she said he goes after noble people too.
Okay.
But
I do.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, of all of them though, Wild West Loki, give me that immediately. I want to see more of him, please and thank you.
maybe this was like some season 3 teases in there.
That would be
bet.
great.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Also, it did happen on Agents of Smash, so that might be what you're thinking of because it was an animation. So
Okay.
yeah,
So maybe that was just that Hulk pulled in.
that would be cool. If anything, it's just an homage to that.
Yeah. I also saw young Star-Lord. I wrote down that I saw Captain Marvel, but I can't remember seeing Captain Marvel. Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, a gnome, Wenwu, Infinity Killmonger. There's Thor versus Thor. That's the straight up Secret Wars of it all. You had Thor versus Thor crashing together in slow motion. Zombie Wanda. I loved the team up with Hela. That was great. I loved Hela just falling. For those poor people who were just going, they were like on the Tower of Terror. They were going up. And they're going down, and they're going up, and they're going down above the forge that Strange wanted to feed them to, because apparently feeding it universe killers was the means to power his universe's recreation, I guess, was the gist of the story.
Sounds right.
Yeah, all it was missing, it just reminded me of the Mario movie when they're all like stuck in hell. It was just missing the one star that is just like very suicidal and sad. Like that would have, it felt so similar.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the Mario movie. They get hearing that they get stuck in hell. Was a real
There's
surprise.
probably a more like accurate term, but they're like in like a lava pit, like in cages, and there's like one character that's just like, we're all gonna die and it's okay. And like that was giving that. It was also giving Loki being like, I've been falling for 30 minutes. Like yeah.
The sweet release of death.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What else do we have here? Cohorty said the last woman to demand that of me regretted it when Strange, I think it was Strange that said kneel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I assumed Cohorty had done a lot more since then, I guess. I don't know why.
That was in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Cohorty
right.
episode.
No, that's literally
She
where
was
he
like the queen. Yeah.
Okay, that's literally okay. Interesting. Well, here's where it starts to. These are my criticisms. First of all, she ripped Infinity Killmonger out of that suit so fast. Whatever, not a big deal. I'll allow it. Her powers are a little undefined. She's very powerful. That's cool. But the one thing I had a problem with, because it affects my boy Tony Stark, Peggy Carter had a handful of Infinity Stones. One Infinity Stone was enough to kill, or very close to kill, if not through the help of his friends, half celestial Peter Quill. Those things killed Iron Man when he snapped with them. She had a fistful of them things and didn't even flinch. What's the rule with the Infinity Stones?
Okay.
Wasn't it? Weren't we talking about this before? Like when we were recording before we recorded the first episode, and Aaron said something to the effect of like it's the TVA rules of like they're just paperweights. Like I don't know.
I mean, I don't really care that much, but just for the sake of continuity, I'm having the argument. Captain Carter with the Infinity Stones in the suit was sick. It was awesome. But she did have a fistful of stones that would have presumably literally melted her freaking body off, let alone her hand and arm.
As I said in a previous episode, continuity doesn't exist because maybe these Infinity Stones work a little differently than the other Infinity Stones. But also, Tony Stark is just a man. He's maybe a genius playboy philanthropist, but his body is the body of a normal human being. Captain Carter has the juice. She's got serum in her body.
You're saying that Captain Carter is more powerful than a half celestial or a gamma infused Hulk.
But
And a Mad Titan, who's also a celestial. What?
They were all fine though. Hulk had a little arm boo boo, and Peter ended up being fine. But like, I'm just saying, these people all have a whole different level of powers, whereas Tony is a man.
So Steve Rogers could have grabbed all 6 Infinity Stones and just ran with them, and wouldn't have even felt it. And he could have snapped, and he could have saved Hulk's arm. Steve Rogers is the real villain.
But also, these Infinity Stones might work differently, is what I'm saying. They might have a little different energy.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
I need Nia DaCosta's reaction to that revelation, and Steve possibly being at fault another way.
Have y'all ever, a sidebar? Have y'all ever watched Devilman Crybaby?
No.
Oh yeah.
An anime series. It's really good. It's very heavy, but it's a good anime series on Netflix. But Doctor Strange fully just became Devilman Crybaby in this episode. And anybody who's watched it, the 2 people who listen to this podcast that have watched it are sitting there going, yes. What else we got? Why was Strange became evil, but clearly this episode implied that there was a good Strange still in there, right? Because it was like they wanted to say, was he taken by the Darkhold? I haven't watched episode 4 of season 1 in a while. Do we remember what made him become so evil and powerful?
I think he just drove himself crazy.
Yeah.
Like I think that was as simple as that. Like he just kept trying to save her over and over and over again. It kind of like what happened we were talking about this in our earlier episode of like the Flash. He just kept going back until he went insane.
Yeah, that's right.
Why y'all let these brunettes rule y'all lives?
I was
Stop
about to
that.
say, I'm like, completely rewriting the multiverse to save Rachel McAdams is such a mood. I just need to say that. Like,
some people want to go the distance. A little too far sometimes. Jesus. At the very end of the episode, we saw Loki.
Yeah.
We saw the World's Tree. Yggdrasil. Peggy Carter.
He's
What?
just smiling. Somewhere Jim Viscardi's like, finally, I
No, he
can rest.
skipped it. He didn't see it. He skipped
Jim
it.
didn't think that was the World Tree when we talked about this in our Loki episode. So I don't know.
Did they call it the World Tree in this episode? Did they refer to it as anything? They just showed it.
They just showed it.
Okay, yeah.
Jenna, you wrote down
because they in the Hela episode, she did say the World's Tree, which was like the other thing that was introduced in phase 1 that like Jim had a whole point of contention of like, is that the same World Tree? So it might be a completely different thing that they're just trying to set the difference between, but they didn't call what we saw with Loki the World Tree.
Interesting. So either way, the watcher is watching Loki, and he's got to be entertained because that show was great, and Captain Carter is there watching with him. Fantastic ending. Season 3, I'm excited for it. I thought this season was fantastic. We'll start that conversation in a minute, but is there anything else about the finale you guys want to talk about?
I really love that it really cements some of the things about the multiverse saga that really make sense to me and resonate with me as like a viewer, because like Doctor Strange is obviously somewhat dangerous, like as we learned in Multiverse of Madness, like the man is not to be trusted, but also he is sort of good as well, but also he be doing dumb stuff like eating freaking like demons and using the Darkhold to like try and stop Wanda, but also damning his own stuff and summoning Charlize Theron to hopefully at some point appear in season 3. Maybe she could do that since we're not going to see the movie forever. And I like that also it draws a parallel to Kang, because in Kang's brain, both universe killers and people with noble intentions who do not adhere to what I want you to do are both equally as dangerous. So you both need to be taken down. You need to be put in check, as one man once said.
Strange would be a good multiverse villain, man.
Yeah.
Strange Supreme is right there. He's you know,
I think he's
hard to
dead.
kill.
Has
Watch
that
it-
ever stopped anything before?
Season
No.
3, come back.
No. All right. Well, that's our episode 9 recap. All good points. We all quite enjoyed this episode, I'd say. And we're going to talk about season 2 as a whole to end the show in just a moment. Our last break of the year. Huh? Welcome back to the final Phase Zero segment of the year, where we're breaking down What If Season 2 as a whole. I'll go first. Say I love this season. Thought it was fantastic. Really delighted and surprised. But Aaron, I'll let you take it from there.
I think that this show, Echo, and some of the stuff to come proves that until we know what things are, maybe we chill. Because when this got announced, I remember the comment section, because in true Phase Zero fashion, during the middle of an episode that we had carefully, Brandon Davis had put together a rundown, we were rolling, and it's like, look at What If Season 2 is coming. And everybody's like, boo, where's Loki? Where's the other stuff that we're trying to see? And look, it's the highest rated thing on Rotten Tomatoes of the year of the MCU. Like, I don't know how, which is bizarre even to me. Even the most ardent, like, Guardians non-believer amongst us is like, hey, calm down. I love animation too. Let's ease up a little bit. But I think it's more than earned the right to exist. And if we're not going to get the movies as often, please keep exploring the team dynamics to give everybody stuff to look forward to. So, yeah.
Jenna, what'd you think of season 2?
I agree with everything that Aaron said. I think that I was still someone who enjoyed season 1 for what it was and for the way that we got it. But I think doing this daily binge, I think having it be what it is and being as ambitious and weird and character driven has really, really worked for me. And I think even the weakest episodes of season 2 are still things that I thoroughly enjoy. So I'm glad that they already confirmed season 3 and that's already in the works, because I feel like from here they can get even crazier. And this just has me excited writ large for Marvel animation, because I already was excited for X-Men 97 and for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But like now knowing that they can cook on this level, I'm very excited to see how those shows do the same thing.
Jamie, what'd you think?
Exactly what Jenna said in terms of it's just getting me more hyped for future animation, because I've talked about this before, but when a character's already exist in live action, getting them to animation does not always thrill me. I mean, aside from 97, I'm so excited about that, but I totally feel like this has gotten me a little more hyped for the other stuff, and ultimately I loved it. I mean, it was so enjoyable. Tony's been watching it now because he didn't watch all the screeners with me, and I've been like excited to hear what he thinks, and it's been really fun to talk about this, and it's different, it's interesting. I don't think it was the best Marvel thing of the year, but it was certainly a lot better than stuff that I was really excited about. I was so hyped for Secret Invasion, and I think this blows Secret Invasion out of the water, even though I'm like Secret Invasion more than everybody else. Still, there was so much cool stuff in here, and I'm now really excited for season 3. I hope it gets bigger, crazier, and weirder as it goes on.
I think this season was fantastic. I think just start to finish, each episode was kind of delightful. You know, some of them were heavier than others, some of them were lighter than others. It was a great mix of tone, great mix of, rosters. I love the team dynamics. So many creative team dynamics. One of my favorite things about the MCU, especially in the Infinity Saga, is the relationships between the characters. Those are the things that keep me coming back. And this did such a good job in each episode of establishing those relationships, especially in the finale. Or no, sorry, in 1602 with Peggy and Steve was great. It played with MCU nostalgia. It remixed things. It did a little bit of the here's what would happen if this character was the star of that movie, but it also did a ton of just original stories branching out. Cohorty is a great new character. The fight stuff with her and Peggy Carter in that finale, the way they were fighting together against Strange Supreme when she was running around the walls like the Flash in the Justice League movie, but then like using the portals to move the shield through different things and kind of use it to sneak up on Strange and all that stuff. It was just really creative. The choreography of the fights in this season was great. The animation was great. Most of the freaking voice actors were like the stars of the MCU, the live action titles, which always helped. And when they didn't have them, they found people who, for the most part, really did a good job of supplementing it and playing the role. I think that the Tony Stark actor was great. Mick Wingert was fantastic. And that's my favorite. But overall, yeah, I think my favorite episode, I really do think my favorite episode was 1602. And I think upon first watch, I underrated the Cohorty episode and I overrated the Nebula episode. I think I got a little high on Nova stuff. I got a little low on not having Marvel stuff. And I think those two episodes got caught up in that. And also the binge of it all for 6 through 8 kind of took me out and lessened my experience the first time I watched them. But then after that, I mean, I do think 8 is probably my favorite, though. What about Jamie? You're the top. Do you have a favorite episode?
Yeah, 1602 is also my favorite episode, although the Christmas one is a close second because
That's
of how
so
much
good.
I love Die Hard. But I do want to share one complaint about this season, though,
Okay.
and that is that when the last big trailer came out before the season dropped, Mr. Clark Gregg took to his Instagram stories and he shared the trailer, and I thought for sure that meant we were getting Coulson in the season, and we did not get Coulson in the season. AC Bradley, if you're listening, Coulson in season 3, he should get a whole episode. Please and thank you.
Oh, Coulson. He was referenced as having perished. I'm sorry. Sorry, I know. Touchy subject. These baseball cards, though, he loved the Avengers. Yeah, overall, season 2 was fantastic. It's probably my number 3 MCU project of the year, which I wouldn't have expected at the beginning of the year. Certainly not. I wouldn't expect Quantumania to be as low as it is, Secret Invasion to be as low as it is.
Did Jenna and Aaron share their favorite episodes?
We did not.
Sorry. Yeah. Aaron, what's your favorite episode?
Definitely Cohorty, just because the possibilities that it extends are just so wide ranging. I mean, there's a ton of people who have waited for there to be some sort of MCU hero that just spins out of this. That's actually one of the heroes. I mean, we finally got Darcy in the comics and stuff, so there is precedent. And I now would also implore AC Bradley, please do a 1990s like Men in Black spoof with Sam and Clark together.
Ooh.
Yes.
Handling shield stuff. That would be really, really fun. I'd have a good time with that.
What if
That-
someone else crashed to Earth instead of Captain Marvel?
Right, exactly. And pick
Yeah.
any one of the space people. Anybody. Dude,
Yeah.
who cares?
That would be fun.
I'm smashing Game Boys by accident. Sorry, Jenna, go ahead.
I agree with Aaron. I think the Cohorty episode is one of the best things that like Marvel has put out in recent memory. And I think like at the end of the day, when we look at this franchise writ large, like the fact that that episode exists is just miraculous. But I will say that is easily one of my favorites, but also my like personal favorite is episode 2 with the 80s Avengers. I think that captured the 80s Avengers comic energy, and it just was so many great characters and such a great dynamic, and was basically a mini Avengers movie. And that one surprised me the most, and it's the one that I've like thought about the most probably.
I love that team. That was a good episode.
Would
Really
watch
good.
that movie right now if they announced
Yes.
it. That was what Avengers 5 was. Would totally watch it.
But see, that's why they had to animate it, because like de-aging and deep faking everybody to be 80s age would be like way too expensive.
That would be expensive. Yeah. And then you got to cast Baby Tony because he's out there somewhere. 'Cause Howard Stark would have that baby somewhere, right?
Yeah.
At that point. Oh, what a fantastic time this was. Season two of What If was delightful. Really, really enjoyed it. Season 3 is already in the works. There's a clip of it already online. I think it was like released on like a Marvel calendar or something there, but there's a Bucky and Red Guardian episode coming in season 3. I'm expecting them to go big in season 3 it felt like they went bigger this year in a sense. I don't really know because I remember all the stuff that happened in season 1, but I haven't watched it in a while. Well, actually, that's not true. I watched almost every season 1 episode before season 2 because we did that Q&A, and I was like, yeah, I gotta brush up. And I watched, I think, 6 of the 9 episodes back again over the course of 2 days before that. And yeah, no, interesting. I definitely just think I like season 2 better. Yeah. Listen, there's so much going on. My brain is fried. It's the end of the year. Here we are. That's it for me on What If season 2. Great episode, great show. Fantastic, delightful. I'm really happy. It's my number 3. My number 1 is Loki. My number 2 is Guardians. My number 3 is What If. And then everything else for me. It's probably above all the DC projects too.
Wow.
Maybe Bluebeard. Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything they want to say? And any rankings you guys want to share? Anything you want to say to round out today's What If season 2 episode?
Just want to say, looking forward to 2024. Can't wait to see what the Marvel news will be. Can't wait to see how this year shakes us up. I think we're going to have a good time.
Oh, we're definitely going to have a good time. All right, Jamie, since you're on the big screen, final words for today's episode. Even though those...
What If is awesome. Follow me. Have a good time. Elizabeth Olsen's awesome.
We're all tired. We are all
I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
I'm so glad we did not do our original plan of like recording all of these back to back because we would be loopy on a level that would be unprecedented.
You are so right about that. Aaron, any last words for today's What If season 2 bonus episode?
It's at some like Hornet. I love that Physio teaches me more about my friends. Never paying Jamie for a Red Fair gal. Going to have a conversation once we get off camera about that. And excited for Eyes of Wakanda. Excited for Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, I didn't think the animation would be holding so much weight for me next year, but it really will be, which is really fun.
Jenna?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. I agree with Aaron. I'm sure we're gonna do 2024 anticipation rankings, and like I was already thinking about mine, and it's like a lot of the animated projects, especially after this, are kind of inching towards the top. So I'm excited for that. And as always, go read some comics. Go read What If comics in particular, because if you liked what the creativity of this season was, there are an infinite number of comic issues that are even crazier.
X-Men 97 just really neck and neck with Madam Web over there, huh? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for a wonderful 2023. Thank you for joining us for these What If recaps and breakdowns and discussions. Thank you to the team that made What If. You guys did a tremendous job. Congratulations. And that's our show. Happy New Year. See you in 2024.